I'm Rajeshri Venkatramanan. Today I'm going to read 120 words per minute for higher speed. It is useful for the KGT higher going examination students. Okay, friends, before I spell out some of the details of how the banks can lend for well throughout schemes under the 20th point program, I wish to make one observation at this stage about potential of the banking system for achieving greater social justice. Banks, no doubt, are required to maintain a balance between profitability and liquidity. They are answerable to their bosses who expect profits to be generated by the banking system for development. We in the government are also required to generate higher savings or surpluses for reinvestment for achieving the rapid growth of the state. You will see that both of us are having the common goal of increasing the savings for larger investment for development. We should remember that the ultimate bosses of both the banks and the governments are the people. If the banks can earn larger profits by their lending policy, the surplus becomes available for reinvestment by the central government through the plan mechanism and plan finances. This process involves macro financing. The process is not one of helping directly the millions of weaker sections for increasing their productivity and incomes. If the banks extend credit to the weaker section directly, it is often feared that their profitability may not be as high as it could have been otherwise. Such a thing, I am afraid, misses the crux of the strategy or the decentralized development for the poor. For the banking system plays a more direct role of helping the producers like the small and marginal farmers and the sellers of service like the agricultural laborers and artisans. The banking system will be playing a more effective role in income redistribution besides increasingly production. I wish to recall on this occasion how in the initial stages of our development the banking system played a very significant role. The German development banks pioneered the developing of appropriate technology for solving some of the major problems of development. Those who played such role were neither economists nor technologists. Essentially, the banks are developers, and it is only necessary to see that in the discharge of the development functions, they bring about a balance not only between liquidity or profitability, but also between liquidity, profitability, and income redistribution. I'm sure that a new development philosophy for the banking system will soon get specifically woven at the national level in the context of the 20th program. On the 20 points in the economic program, as many as 12 or to 14 lend themselves for chalking out a coordinated program between the government and the banks. I shall try to indicate them briefly for seeking your support. For containing the prices, you will agree that there should be an increase in production and also a better system for distribution of the essential commodities. I would appeal to the banks to see that the subsidy in the state budget is fully utilized for improving the distribution of essential commodities. Banks can lend to fair price shops and the retail shops for making available the essential commodities. I'm glad to learn that 3 or 4 banks have already come forward to extend credit facilities for the opening of retail shops by the unemployed persons. I would request all the banks to participate in this scheme. There is the point relating to the provision of house sites and house for landless and weaker sections. I am afraid that so far the banks have not done much for the housing schemes of the weaker sections. There may be reasons for it. Recently, then, I held discussions with the Union Minister for Works and Housing. I was told that we can expect considerable assistance from the commercial banks for the housing program for the weaker sections. State government has a massive program of construction houses for the poor. On the point relating to electric power, the state government is anxious to promote setting up of captive units. Banks can extend assistance in this area and must help in achieving this target. There must be greater good coordination between the electricity board and the banks for bringing about synchronization of activities. Banks can also invest in the debentures of electricity boards. I would argue that such support should be treated as a part of the statutory liquidity requirements of the banking system. Then there is the scheme for the works participating in industry. Even here, the banks can encourage the workers to buy equity shares. Similarly, the scheme of issue of national permits for road transport, the banks can give advances for buying more trucks. Governments are trying to ensure the supply of essential commodities and at controlled prices to students in hostels. The students' associations and cooperatives can be encouraged to run the mess instead of entrusting it to the contractors. The bank can very profitably encourage the cooperatives in the universities, colleges, and schools to have some more effective cooperation and coordination between the banks and the government.